right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show, it is a live episode that we just recorded last week at Maya Cinemas here in Las Vegas. And we have a great lineup of guests to talk about Christopher Nolan's latest film, Oppenheimer. And you've probably heard me talk about Nolan on the show a bunch in the past, and I've been a little bit shaky on his career over the years. I know everybody loves him so much, and I don't always connect with his films, but I loved this one, and we had a great time talking about it. My guests for the episode are Kris Krainock, Brian Garth, and M.N. Miller, all three returning guests to the show, but all three their first time being on one of the live ones. So it was awesome having them, and we had a great turnout, really fun time out there at Maya Cinemas. We'll be doing another one soon. But yeah, we got that coming up here in a second. Before we get to it, I do want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed to Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow us on social media at Piecing Pod. Join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces. And don't forget about our Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, with bonus and advanced content from Piecing It Together, awesome movie year, and my music career. Lots of great stuff over there, so check it out. And one other thing I wanted to mention before we get to the episode, I do these Enter to Win contests to, give out some free tickets to these shows. And one of the people who won a ticket to the show and who came out over there at Maya Cinemas last week, it was his first time in a movie theater since 2017. And I just think that is so cool that we got somebody back out to the movies. That's always been, if you read the show notes of these Piecing It Together episodes, the bottom of the show notes, every episode says, keep going to the movies, because that's what I love. And so I'm just so excited that we got somebody who hadn't been out for a while back out to the movie theater. So keep going to movie theaters, everybody. And let's get to our conversation on Oppenheimer. So that was a heavy movie, but we're going to talk about it now. And I'm David Rosen, the host of Piecing It Together podcast. We're going to take a look at the movie we just watched through the lens of what other movies might have inspired it. And joining me today, we're going to go down the line here. First up, we've got M.N. Miller, a film critic, Ready, Steady, Cut, a bunch of other online sources. M.N. Miller, say hello to the people.
Hi, people.
You actually have seen this already. You saw it 2 days ago.
Yeah, yesterday.
Oh, it was yesterday.
Twice in 2 days. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Are you like feeling very weighed down by the weight of everything that's just happened?
No, I think today reaffirmed my thoughts of how great a movie it is.
Awesome. Right on. Kris Krainock is next to him right there, a filmmaker from here in Las Vegas. Kris, introduce yourself.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Kris, like Dave said.
Yeah, that's Kris right there. Yeah. Kris, we talked a lot before, doing this about both of us are a little wishy-washy on Nolan.
Yeah.
Did you feel like this was a good one?
Yeah, return to form.
Yeah.
I think it was great.
Right on.
I really enjoyed it. I thought, I'll save more of my criticism, my positive criticism, my critique, via the puzzle piece. But yeah, overall, I thought it was awesome. I loved it. Yeah.
All right, that's an exciting place to start from. Yeah. Brian Garth on the end there from the band Black Camaro, one of my first guests on this podcast way back in the day.
Cool.
How you doing, Brian?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for inviting me back on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad to have you on. I looked it up. Your last time on Piecing It Together, right before the pandemic, Terminator Dark Fate.
Wow.
Are you excited about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I hold firm on everything I said positively about that film.
I'm sure. I don't know how much I remember about that film, but
right. It's exactly my point.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for those of you here who have never listened to Piecing It Together before, what I like to do at these live ones is kick it off with we call them puzzle pieces, which are other movies or TV shows or some kind of media that might have inspired the movie we just watched. And I always like to kind of take one off the table and just throw it out there for the crowd immediately, just so you kind of get an idea of what it is we do here. And for this movie, Oppenheimer, the one that I had kind of settled on before even seeing it, just based off the trailer and based off of what the movie is itself, I was going to go with The Imitation Game from 2014 with Benedict Cumberbatch as a mathematician who during World War II really advanced things technologically for the sake of code breaking and computing. And it also spent as much time dealing with his personal life and the goings on of everything that this person was going through at that time as they were making these kind of groundbreaking wartime advancements. So starting with that, let's go down the line. Imitation Game, fan of that movie?
Oh, loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was great.
Didn't spend quite as much time on
Yeah.
this one really breathes. But
This one does.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got 3 hours to breathe, so
Sure.
so-
yeah, because Chris is saving cinema.
Yeah.
He could do stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, BG, over there?
Oh yeah, I thought that one spent probably more time on his personal life than this one did. I thought this one was pretty well balanced, right? Like the project as well as personal life. Imitation Game
Yeah,
was pretty much more about his personal life and throwing the cool code breaking stuff and the funny gadget. I thought. I love that film though. I didn't realize I loved it until I saw it a second time. I was like, oh yeah, I actually like this.
I feel the
film.
same way.
I really like it. Right.
Yeah, I grew to like it even more after I saw it a few times.
right on.
I think you're right though about the persecution.
Yeah.
Imitation Game and particularly in Oppenheimer.
Yeah, absolutely. They're both, they're both films that deal with what the person's going through, both from their personal life and from the consequences of the thing that they're working on and the war that they're working in. So yeah, I mean that's kind of what we're going to be doing here, and then we're going to go down the line here and get into some other puzzle pieces, and then we'll open it up and see if anybody in the audience has any puzzle pieces. But let's kick it off
Real
right
quick,
here.
those two also star really dreamy like UKers.
That is
They're
true.
with beautiful
I was
eyes.
just gonna say,
That's the one. They're beautiful eyes. I think that's the same as well.
Benedict Cumberbatch and Cillian Murphy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gorgeous man.
So we're
It's
talking
a
about?
good thing we had 3 hours just staring into those eyes.
Is
here.
Cillian? Is he Irish?
Is it Cillian or Cillian?
Yeah,
Am I
Irish,
Cillian,
right?
Did I say Cillian? Cillian is
I think
Irish?
it's. I said Cillian.
So
my
not
bad.
quite UKers, but
Cillian.
if any Irish people are in here, they're going to be really pissed. But people in that part of the globe, I should say.
Yeah.
And also very spicy man.
Yes, very, very spicy.
All right, moving on. Sorry.
All right, okay. M.M. Miller, what do you got for your first piece here?
The Social Network.
Okay.
For one, I think both people kind of ruin the world.
There you go. That
So
is-
with the invention of social media. So Zuckerberg is less of a hero though than
yeah.
Oppenheimer, but
Yeah.
that's kind of my interpretation. That also because you mentioned how the script writing for Nolan.
Yeah.
This one had like a dialogue, almost like Sorkin, in a couple pieces of parts here, particularly Damon and Murphy going back and forth.
Sure.
I was really impressed with that.
Yeah, those were some of the most fun moments of the film because
Oh,
like
Damon was great.
Yeah, it
Damon,
is such a heavy movie, but whenever Damon was on screen, I mean, hit or miss sometimes with some of the stuff he's done in the past, but like he is just really on fire.
From the
there.
trailer, I was really worried he was going to overact the entire time.
It was
Sure.
very
We had
much
that one
nonstop,
moment.
Yeah.
like a Sorkin piece, right?
Yeah. Totally. So that's a great one. And definitely some Sorkin in there. And Social Network, great piece to kick it off with. Kris, what do you got for your first?
Well, I wasn't going to say this one first, but I'll kind of go off of what you're saying about the script and how it has this kind of fast-paced. I was going to say A Hidden Life by Terrence
Oh, wow.
Malick.
Okay.
Because I think Nolan's kind of flirting with Malick-y territory with this not a strict 3-act structure, doesn't have conventional scenes. They're really kind of fast-paced. It's almost a montage style of movie telling, and I think it's because he has these very ambitious structures. So he's blending scenes together, and music kind of carries them. It almost feels like a big trailer. And that's not a criticism. That's not a negative thing. It's just the kind of style I think he's flirting with. And that was something that Malick really has been doing most of his career, but on his comeback films like Thin Red Line and Tree of Life. And then I picked Hidden Life because it has the World War II Nazi element. So kind of, I think Nolan's flirting with a Malick-y kind of, like a kind of a quilt effect style of storytelling and the war.
Great piece. Let's move on to Brian Garth's first piece.
My first piece, the first thing that came to mind, the Good Night, Good Luck. Obviously, the
great one.
David Strathairn. I hope I'm saying that dude's name right. Communist witch hunt. Though I'd say that they probably had a slight, justification for this type of inquiry, but not really. But you know what I'm saying? It really reminded me of that. Interestingly, I remember that Strathairn actually played Oppenheimer in a TV movie in the 90s.
Oh, that's
80s or 90s.
Yeah.
And I thought it's interesting. I don't know if there's even a connection there, but
Well,
I won't mention that one for the sake of not stealing a second
Sure.
puzzle piece. But
Yeah, that is an
good
interesting
night, good luck.
connection, though, for sure. And yeah, that's a great piece. And I haven't seen that since it first came out. Did it have a lot of back and forth, like timeline wise? I'm kind of remembering that.
No. It really. I mean, it was all black and white, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
To kind of create that vibe. And who's that? Was that
It's Clooney.
Yeah,
Clooney,
George
yeah.
Clooney made that
Probably his
film.
best directorial.
Yeah.
Am I tripping? Was Robert Downey Jr. in that film?
Now that's a good
I
question.
can't remember.
But it was definitely similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
to me.
no, that's a good one. Absolutely. I'll go to another piece here. I usually try to stick to mostly movies, but we do throw in some TV shows here and there. And I'm going with Breaking Bad for my first puzzle piece here.
Sure.
I mean, you got this guy who's just obsessed with the fact that he can do something, and it kind of allows him to kind of get swept away by the possibilities of that, and taking it in a bad direction, basically. And we got a little bit of Walter White, I feel like, in the way that,
Heisenberg.
And a little bit of Heisenberg,
and you got
yeah.
a little bit of Heisenberg in there too. So, just a little bit of that, and just like the smartest guys in the room getting swept up in their own possibilities and believing in their own shit. So,
Very autobiographical, perhaps.
no, there you go.
Some dangerous hubris.
Yeah, we're talking about Christopher Nolan now, I believe. Is that
I
right?
don't know.
Wow.
Look between the lines, Dave.
No, that's so weird. Like a friend of mine actually mentioned something to me a few years back, probably Inception era, and it was like, yeah, man, Christopher Nolan movies are great, but you can only watch them once, you know, and you'll never
I
watch it
disagree.
again. You will never watch it again. And to this day, I won't watch Inception again. I won't watch Interstellar again. I won't watch Tenet again. I thought about revisiting Tenet, but not to derail this, but it's interesting. Like the picking on Nolan after watching what I thought was a fantastic
great
Definitely
Christopher
one of
Nolan
his
film.
best.
Well,
One
he's
of
just
his
an easy
best.
target because he's funny.
He's
But
lazy,
other than
yeah.
that, but then this was a great movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, to your point or your friend's point, like I actually I felt Inception was difficult to watch a second time, but Interstellar I thought was better the second time. So I don't know. It's kind of like
So you're wrong.
Yeah, I might be so,
Objectively wrong,
Yeah, I know.
obviously,
That's
no.
basically what it comes down to. But you were saying you think they're mostly all great. Would you say?
Well, Interstellar is one movie I didn't like.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was a little too self-indulgent
Okay.
for my taste.
Yeah.
But I'm a much bigger Nolan fan than you two.
Yeah.
I love the
over here.
Prestige.
And these two fellas over
Prestige
here.
is incredible. Dark Knight's great. Batman
That's some
Begins.
Memento
is great.
is-
Yeah, those are good.
Memento
Those
is
are good
good.
too.
Yeah.
Even Insomnia is good.
Yeah.
It's like kind of forgotten.
Oh,
genre.
Insomnia is
It's a good movie.
maybe
Totally
my
didn't write.
favorite.
Yeah.
Towards the top, anyway. But Chris, let's go to
You got
another
another.
piece.
You have another one,
Oh,
don't you?
yes, Emmett Miller. What's your next
Jump
piece?
up. Jump-
Well, one of the things around the Nolan filmography, I really thought like everything he practiced, every movie he did was a practice up to this movie.
Hmm.
Now, I know it's kind of like a duh statement, but there's so many things in other movies that came in through to this one.
Okay.
Like for the Dark Knight example,
Okay.
like just through the whole franchise, the whole theme of escalation from Batman Begins, which is here, worry about escalation with the race to create the bomb.
Yeah.
Also, the Dark Knight, where you stick around so long to be the hero, you're the hero, but you stick around long enough to be the villain.
Sure. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
something Nolan is obsessed with. And even like the subtle shades of what's happening in the beginning with Robert Downey Jr.'s character and going in like he was actually, orchestrating everything behind it. Subtle shades of, what's going on. We think it's this thing, and then later it's something different.
Yeah.
And not to mention the sound design. You're the filmmaker, but it was
wow.
like pure, Dark Knight franchise.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So everything he did, I almost think like, okay, we're going to practice these 8 movies to get to this epic film.
Yeah. I
I
don't know how
was
to
just-
say the composer's last name, but
I did.
Ludwig was.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sound design is
Like,
just
just they're in the
punishing.
classround, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
leaning over, and I'm like, oh, what the hell is
And,
that
like,
rumbling?
What he really did was he made like an against time thriller, into
Yeah.
this huge, historical epic.
Yeah.
That's so hard to do.
Which I think he did kind of poorly with Dunkirk. I think with the ticking clock music is like a little demonstrative, and I mean you're so boxed into this showy, meaningless exercise, to where I think he brought those pieces to this in a more elegant way. Not to kind of head jumping in there, but yeah, I mean that was kind of an experiment I think that didn't quite work for me from Dunkirk. Although I love the framework of Dunkirk and the content is really great, but just didn't stick the landing.
Well, the thing with Dunkirk, I mean, is that you use the word experiment. I think Dunkirk is all experiment. I don't think there's anything else there.
It's
there's
dime
no
store tricks.
There's
really
no story.
empty,
There's no character. There's nothing. It's just
What
experiment.
if we split it up and made a clock tick?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
You just reminded me that Dunkirk was a movie. Let's put it that way. And I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
saw
really
that movie.
disagree.
I sat through that film.
Well,
I love
I'm sorry.
Dunkirk.
All right.
yeah. I mean, you're certainly not alone. A lot of people absolutely love that movie. I think I managed to find 2 people who dislike it as much as I do.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it's very, yeah. But I think I might agree with the hype that this is maybe his best film.
Yeah,
I don't know. I need some more separation of time, but
Yeah.
I was really involved in it, and I thought it was just a good story told well.
Yeah, absolutely. This was fantastic. Chris, let's go to your next piece.
All right, so my next one's going to be First Man.
I had that
yeah,
one.
and I love First Man. No one likes First Man. Nobody likes Damien Chazelle for some reason. You do too? Okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love First Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
I thought it was all right.
I'm a fan of
All
Space
right.
Race, though. So.
Yeah, I mean, First Man. I mean, it's both about true life people, similar eras within 20-year periods.
Another race.
Major race,
Against the
major
Russians,
technical
yeah.
advancement, a lot of scientists in rooms talking about doing science quickly and well,
Yeah.
and also about very remote men. You know, that both of Neil Armstrong and Oppenheimer, we never really know what they feel. We never really know what their position is on things. But the films, why I think they excel as films, because with characters as their vehicle, is because films, in my opinion, should give the audience an opportunity to think and engage and make up your own mind about what these people are feeling, especially with these really complex things like making a nuclear weapon or going to the moon. So having these characters as the vehicle, they're remote and they're mysterious, and it gives us the freedom to imagine how they would be feeling through this.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. They also pissed their wives off a lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
this wife, hilarious. Yeah, she's bucket of laughs. Yeah.
Yeah. BG, you were on my First Man episode back in the day.
Yeah, I thought that film was great. I'm a big fan of the Space Race. Interesting that you said First Man. One of my pieces. How many did we get, by the way? 2, 3, 5?
Yeah, 2,
As
3,
many as
5.
until they just
Yeah.
leave.
So I had one I
We're
wanted to
finished.
say first before that.
Sorry,
No, go ahead.
I was making a joke.
I had one I wanted to say before the one I'm actually going to say now.
Okay.
Because you mentioned First Man, the first thing that came to my mind was the right stuff, right? And not maybe how the right stuff was depicting something like that I'm very familiar with, you know, and like you said, the speed in which they're having to kind of do the science and not just come up with not just theorize it, but actually put it to practice instantly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To, you know, Grissom, his hatch exploding when his capsule lands in the ocean and having to blame that on some technical malfunction and nothing he did, you know. They obviously it's depicted as fear or some sort of action in the film, but, you know, and it's interesting how that came back to bite him in the ass on Apollo 1, right? And I don't know, just it had that vibe. It was very creepy. Like, you know, what they're doing is really important, but also, you know, it's creepy. It's scary.
It is, yeah, absolutely. And they really, you know, you were talking about with the Dark Knight Rises, like that ramping up from beginning to end, like they really set the tone for just how, like, horrific this could be. Like, if things go badly, if things go right, how horrific it could be. And
Yeah.
so that is in every frame of this movie. I think it's there. It's
Even
way over.
Interstellar, like the end of the world, it's happening, the windstorm. You get that same exact scene almost here
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
The dread.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, let's go to you again. Even though you just brought up the right stuff, you said that's kind of like an in-between piece. Let's go to another piece.
Oh, okay. Well, I had the anxiety I had watching Aronofsky's Mother,
Okay.
but
Wow.
it really popped to me in 2 scenes. One, the scene where he's in the gymnasium or whatnot, and
yeah.
you know, everyone is screaming and hollering, and all you can hear is like them standing up, which was really,
Yeah.
which is very really cool sound design choice. But it stood out as this really surreal moment, and like kind of a disassociation, and it felt like every scene of Mother to
Yeah.
me, you know, where it just like, ugh, God, it just made me feel really shitty. Like
That's what he wants to do.
I think it was
yeah.
meant to do that, and
was.
it was effective, and I loved
so,
that
yeah.
about it, right? That a movie could do that, right? And I thought that this did that in that scene, and then once again when he was being interrogated in the little room,
Yeah.
you know, where I guess where you could say like all the A bombs are just kind of going off,
Yeah, sure.
in the room with him, right?
Yeah.
Like all of those scenes, it just felt very much like Aronofsky's Mother.
Well, you know, I love when Mother comes up on this podcast. For that scene, though, you know what I was thinking of? I wasn't going to use it as a full-on puzzle piece, but just to kind of go on top of that. But last year's Blonde, the Marilyn Monroe movie, the scene where all the fans are just screaming and their faces are kind of distorting, and like they're not even people anymore. Like that's what that scene reminded me of. And that's like such a horrific moment in that movie, and this really mirrored that. I felt a lot.
Did you cry when he pulled his foot out of that charred body?
I didn't cry, but you know,
Not the type of film to elicit tears, I don't think.
yeah, I don't know. I was,
Which
it was
I appreciate.
gross. By the way, I think I read that's his daughter, or was it the girl?
charred body was
yeah,
his
or was
daughter?
it the girl with the peeling face? One of them was his daughter. He cast in that role. Yeah.
Oh, Nolan's daughter?
Yeah, Nolan's
oh, okay. I
daughter,
thought you meant like,
yeah.
was Oppenheimer stepping
No,
on
no,
his
no.
daughter?
Yeah, Nolan's
that's
daughter.
weird.
Yeah.
Didn't have a daughter.
Weird,
So we're gonna-
weird,
are we going
weird
back?
choices, but I'll go with another one. So I was actually thinking about Terminator as a puzzle piece here because, you know, the idea of humans creating something that's going to be their undoing, you know, and that is like kind of the central theme of all the Terminator movies, not just any one particular one of them. And here, you know, this is about a guy who is creating something and it's getting out of his control. Basically, it's by the ends. He's imagining all the destruction it could possibly end up happening, you know, later on down the road. And on
Miles
another
Dyson
level,
Oppenheimer.
Miles Dyson Oppenheimer, absolutely. And then on top of that, Terminator 2 does have like the best destruction scene ever with Judgment Day. So I mean, how could you not be inspired
To
by
this
that
day,
if you're going to make an atomic bomb movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe a little outside, you know, left field here, but yeah,
No, I can
Terminator.
see Cameron in general being like a directorial influence.
Yeah.
That kind of large scale science fiction, more
yeah.
cerebral. You know, I think Nolan kind of fits into that world a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do you think Nolan is on Avatar 2?
Ooh, I think he loves it, probably. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I don't know.
seen
Destruction, visuals, like all.
I
you
don't
know.
think he's seen it.
Yeah, you don't think he's seen
No,
it?
he just saw this 40 times. Yeah.
M. Miller, you got another puzzle piece you want to throw in there?
Paddington.
Nice.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I was like, you were talking
Everyone's got to
about
mention
Jim.
that movie. I have. Can I throw two out there quick?
Do it.
To steal from you guys.
Rapid fire.
This is a really complex story of politics and big moments. So I really think JFK and Nixon.
Oh, yeah.
Those are
Next
two-
one was one of mine.
Definitely.
Yeah,
JFK,
exactly.
For sure.
I saw that, so I took it. But like, especially like the black and white scenes, like the narrative going back and forth. I mean, it's really hard to tell here. And I'm glad I saw it twice because I had to write an ending explained for this movie,
Yeah.
and I got 2 facts wrong. I got to change when I get home. But yeah, it was like the politics of like, you know, throwing someone under the bus.
Yeah.
And like getting a villain is in those two, and also the military-industrial complex, especially with Nixon.
Yeah.
There's nothing like Oppenheimer can do about that. It's like he's just a pawn in the wheel, and
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's like the key thing. Like he can't really do anything about it once those wheels are turning. So yeah, I mean, he's just in.
Case in point, as soon as he handed out the bomb, there's nothing he could do.
Exactly.
Throw that in with like an ensemble cast. I think it's like when
Sure.
you see all these kind of heavy hitters together in that
Oh, from like
scenario.
is that
right?
Josh and Peck kid was in there too?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
there's all
That
sorts of
was him,
people.
right?
Yeah,
it's
From
Josh.
Josh and Drake.
Josh and Drake. That's
Yeah,
it.
Drake
yeah.
and Josh.
Drake and Josh,
I don't know.
whatever.
Whatever it was, I don't know.
I remember the fat guy first.
That was him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, I see.
I put the fat man first.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
There you go. Chris, you got one more you want to throw in?
Yeah, I'll just do a quick two for the obligatory ones. I'd say Doctor Strangelove in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, of course.
Doctor Strangelove, even the ending's almost the same. You know, the whole world explodes through nukes.
Yeah.
So we have a kind of a Strangelove thing. I think 2001 I'd bring up because it's kind of, if you know anything about Chris Nolan, it's one of his favorite films. He's very influenced by Kubrick in general, but also the practical effects of the bombs, I think, is reminiscent of the really advanced stuff that Stanley was doing back in the 60s for all the space effects. They were obviously not computer effects. So I think him kind of going back and doing things with miniature and unique photography tricks kind of harkens back to one of his favorite films, 2001. And aren't we all just in the dead of 2001, really? But
There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Brian, you got one more?
No.
All right, good. Let's open it to the floor. Does anybody have any? We've got my wife Gina's got a puzzle piece right there. What do you got?
The Showtime series Homeland.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What? Let's hear a little bit about the connection between the two.
Well, I mean, hello.
Mhm.
The United States of America, like, proudly destroying the world. Like,
Yes.
You know, like, and people that are, you know, like Carrie Matheson and Saul Berenson, how they would struggle with, like, what they were doing. Like, is it for the greater good?
Right.
Or is it despite, you know, sacrificing some for the greater good? So
Yeah. No. Absolutely. That scene with the president was like exactly
Gary
that
Oldman.
kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
you know, just totally portraying him as somebody who just doesn't give a
yeah,
shit.
and then just at the end, like, knowing like what they did was wrong,
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely. No. Great one. And
And Carrie also at the end of that series, she ends up becoming a Russian spy.
Oh.
She ends up working
Spoiler alert.
with Russia.
I actually didn't finish the last season. So
You haven't watched
you.
it.
Oh,
10 years old
spoiler
at this point.
alert.
I gotta make it past that
Does
season.
she get a
Rosebud
poster
was a sled. Sorry.
Gina gets
80
one of the
years ago.
Oppenheimer shirts here. So if anybody else has a puzzle piece, they
Well,
get.
it's not really a puzzle piece.
Okay.
But this guy reminded me of Willem Dafoe, and I wish he had been the lead actor. Even
Oh,
though
wow.
This guy
Me
was
too.
really good, Murphy.
Yes.
Yeah.
For some reason, I mean, I love Willem Dafoe.
It's the cheekbones, is what you're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just reminded me of him so much.
Yeah.
And, I don't watch bomb movies.
Well, can you name another bomb movie, Mom?
I watched 3 Sharknadoes the other night.
There you go.
Okay.
Bomb movie.
Those are all
counts.
bomb movies.
That
Let me
counts.
tell you.
Oh,
I think Sharknado 3 is the most bomb of those. All 3 of
It's
them.
pretty
That's one in
bomb.
space.
Yeah, sharks in space.
Yeah.
How about my peeps up there? You
Beats
got
the Meg,
puzzle
too.
pieces, I know.
Any
it.
puzzle pieces up there? You get a shirt.
You get a whole shirt, an entire shirt. No, I don't have one puzzle piece.
We got one right here, Wendy.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say some Terrence Malick films.
Okay.
Oh,
Name any other Terrence Malick film other than the one Chris brought up.
Tree of Life.
Tree of
yeah,
Life.
okay.
Boom.
Agreed.
That's a shirt right there. Wendy, what do you got?
It's not really a puzzle piece.
Yes,
but,
it is.
Okay. But it's like that sense of anxiety sort of, you know, got me in the same place, and then the whole dismissive nature of the government and some of the actions and stuff. Don't Look Up.
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
That
So-
totally works.
That's a great puzzle
that
piece.
sort of,
You get a shirt.
so that sort of, you know, the sense of anxiety and, you know, all of that sort of made me think of Don't Look Up.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's a great one to bring up here. Absolutely. Anybody else in the crowd have any other puzzle pieces? Going once, going
Yep,
twice.
we got a gentleman right here.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this is like way too easy, you know. But I think just the whole it felt to me like the arc of his whole life and just the kind of craziness of it. It's just the whole thing just seemed insane,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it really just feels a lot like Apocalypse Now to me.
Oh, wow. Great one.
Like it feels that epic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be a historical movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is such a huge story and a huge undertaking. I mean, it's kind of no wonder it's like 3 hours and like such a huge cast. I mean, to tell this kind of story, you got to make a big movie like this. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a great one, a great like reference point for, you know, what Nolan, I think, is probably going for with a movie like this.
And it didn't feel like there was like dead spots where I'm just like, come on.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think it really
Yeah,
felt
nothing
like
was
that
wasted.
3 hours. You know,
No.
there was like
Yeah.
one minor dip after the mid crescendo of the nuke, and then you're like, okay, now we're back in this little room talking about, you know.
Yeah.
There was like 5 minutes where I was like, oh, we gonna lose this thing, but then it gets ramps up and gets so
Yeah.
fascinating with Downey Jr.'s aspect of it. So no, I agree. I've seen 3 hour films that feel a lot closer to 3 hours than this felt. This one really moved beautifully.
How he made that small room work.
Yeah, great.
There was a lot
Claustrophobic.
of time filming in that little room.
Yeah.
And it was, I thought it was awesome. How,
Agreed.
You know,
Yeah.
how, you know, dramatic and, you know, crazy it was in that room.
Yeah, absolutely. They really ramped up that tension through that whole scene, and that's a tough thing to do in a moment like
For sure.
that.
Yeah,
So,
certainly.
Who
Absolutely.
thought? What did you guys think of the kind of somewhat downplaying of the famous Bhagavad Gita line. I am become death.
Like it was just in that one moment. It was because they
was
kind
twice.
of they.
Well,
yeah, I
but
guess
it was
was
almost like they were recalling when he said it
Right,
the first
right.
time, right? It was like they were just replaying that. I thought it was like, that's interesting.
I think that was actually a good choice because that's the biggest quote that we all know of Oppenheimer. So to do it in a unique way or unexpected way is always a treat when you're not expecting something. For me anyway.
I wish I took Sanskrit in college.
a lot of interesting religious themes that all point to the idea of like humanity trying to become God, which also not to bring up Mother again, but it's very
Sure.
It's like there was obviously the pantheon, the Greek pantheon at the beginning, the Prometheus story, the Bhagavad Gita line, which also implies the conjuring of Krishna. That's like, it's up to you now. You know what I mean? Like this is in your hands now, right? I all the way to just, like I said, the icky feeling it made me, it almost seemed like it was totally inspired in a lot of ways. By
Oh, we got a couple
We
puzzle
got two.
pieces.
Wow.
Whoa,
We got another one?
Three. Oh my
Oh,
God.
that's
my
what I'm talking
gosh.
about, baby.
Can we go
Here
for
we go.
four?
Hopefully we got enough shirts, but let's get them all in here. What do we got, Kush?
I didn't know the format, so I don't have a puzzle piece.
Okay.
I never remember a movie once I walk out the movie theater anyway.
Fair
I
enough.
remember this one.
I thought the format of discussion might have something to do with the historic portions of it. So
Sure.
I was formulating my comments about that. And I had looked up over the last week of being inundated with Oppenheimer discussions on shows and what have you. And so I started looking up why Japan was picked instead of Germany, and outside of them being Asian versus European, and then I read that, Germany was about to surrender, and then I hear in the movie, Japan was about to surrender anyway. So I wondered if there were any thoughts about that, or any additional information that you all in particular, or anyone happen to investigate or research about why Japan instead of Germany.
It seems
Well, I think
like a
because-
cowardly thing to do, basically, right?
Well, I mean the conventional knowledge that I've always heard is that Germany had already surrendered.
Yeah, Japan
And
was the
so
last.
They were, and I think now it's coming out and becoming more concrete knowledge that Japan was preparing to surrender, and that we did it as a show of strength, which is a tragedy. So it pains.
It's not a real piece.
Okay.
And
Some
so,
level.
My
Japan attacked us
girlfriend-
first, Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, maybe a little revenge action.
There's
and maybe
some
a little,
revenge
and,
involved.
and who knows? Probably racism as well. I mean, these are all contributing factors, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, but go on. Sorry.
yeah, my girlfriend Virginia, may she rest,
Uh-huh.
she and her family were moved from San Francisco into internment camps.
Wow.
And nothing was mentioned about that.
No,
Yeah,
no.
and she held you. When you were a baby, Virginia held you.
Did she drop him by chance?
No,
Oh,
that
okay.
was my job.
Oh, okay.
I think we might have an actual puzzle
Oh,
piece
did
up
they-
We
there.
got two up there. We
Did
got
that guy go to
Two.
Princeton? Because this guy here, the show off, he's a Princeton
The show
graduate.
Oh wow.
Yeah, hello.
Thank you for the Princeton-based comments. We appreciate those, absolutely.
No
Up there we
Dartmouth
got some pieces. What do
comments?
we got?
The Prince and the word ton.
Yes.
I also is the kind of people who don't remember movies. I have to look up the name of the movie
Okay.
Okay.
real quick. A Beautiful Mind.
Oh, I
that
had
was one of
that.
mine too. Good.
I was thinking about that one as well. I think that's a great one.
Especially old bad makeup.
A beautiful
Yeah, the bad old makeup.
Yeah.
I was like, this is exactly that movie.
I liked A Beautiful Mind more when it was called I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Yeah.
That also Princeton movie.
Yeah, it's all- yeah,
there you
exactly.
go. It all comes back
Yeah,
around.
John Nash.
There you go.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
That's a great puzzle piece. I think
So you're
very
saying people
similar.
from Princeton are bad people?
Hang out.
And we got. Is there another one?
I think
Right there,
that
him.
The corner, that's-
when,
oh, sorry.
How a genius deal with the rest of the human being that you had to work with
Yeah.
in real life, have to make things work while he kind of struggles with that. And the scenes where he's noticing the details, like stuffing of the classrooms and whatnot. Those kind of details kind of remind me of some scenes in Beautiful Mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And and I really loved how Nolan kind of focused in on all that stuff too while it was happening. Like it was, you know, it was a very Nolan thing to do, but it was like the way that like the room would start to like swell and stuff like that as he's like really
Just like
picking
the
up on
Batman movies.
everything. Yeah, that was like a Batman thing for sure. So
What was the
fear spray?
fear spray. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Nice. Another puzzle piece, I think, right up there.
It's more so of a book, Tom Clancy's Sum of All Fears.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
How it plays into the interlude at the tail end of the movie of where you proceeded into the 1950s and 60s of the rocket proving grounds that we had here at the Nevada Proving Grounds, and the research that was done to be able to forecast the future of nuclear science into a destructive capability is really living off in today's society even more so than everybody really can see.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking about this, how there's been so many young people watch movies, superhero movies, the world's always ending. And this is actually one of those times where a bomb actually dropped, the world almost ended, and most generations don't remember this. So I'm wondering, like, the gravitas of this movie, if it's going to really impact young people watching this, like how close we actually were. Because I was thinking about movies like that drop a bomb. That, I mean, you guys can tell me, has any other time in history has a bomb dropped like that in the world?
Yeah.
And so that's why I think this is like one of the greatest. It is the greatest biographical film ever made.
Wow.
Because it's almost like a superhero action movie that actually happened. The hubris of the whole thing.
Yeah.
It really changed the world and changed people's minds.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Well, and a beloved filmmaker like this and a cast like this, I mean, it has a chance to be seen by people who otherwise would just kind of be oblivious to the fact that something like this exists.
Yeah, I mean, we Dave and I did a interview to kind of promote this event, and one of the questions was like, why the hype for this movie especially? And I actually had a hard time answering because you think, oh, why is this movie based in the 30s and 40s about a nuclear bomb? You know, why are younger kids going to see this versus Barbie? You know, which is like the big internet thing of those two movies versus each other. And I think it has to do with how beloved the filmmaker is, but I also think there is kind of a quest for this kind of knowledge. I think that there's something so frightening about it that it does draw people in kind of a morbid way.
Yeah. I was thinking about rigging like a slime that would fall on the first person who mentioned Barbie during this podcast.
Oh,
man. But everyone go see Barbie. We're seeing it tomorrow. So
We both wore pink in the spirit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good.
The
good-
mutually
good choice
assured
there.
Barbie destruction and or whatever. What's the war?
Yeah,
What are they calling it? Barbenheimer?
Barbenheimer. Yeah, absolutely. Well,
We
I
all
think-
just got slimed.
I think it's a good place to wrap up Oppenheimer here. Guys, I want you to plug your stuff to everybody who's here and everyone who listens at home. And then Miller, let's start with you.
You can catch my review of this movie at readysteadycut.com. Go to it. Don't read it. Just click it 1,000 times. That's all the website cares about. So please go right ahead.
Fair enough. Okay. Chris.
Well, right now you can go to KrisKrainock.com. You can get my name and the spelling, everything on the site and on the promotion stuff. You can see the films I've made. We're just in post-production right now with my debut feature-length motion picture called L'Imposteur du 16 Rue Ravignon. You can remember that. It's a French title, but just call it L'Imposteur. And it's based on a play that I wrote that's getting produced in France. So we're adapted it into a feature-length film, and that should be hitting film festivals in 2024, and then hopefully some type of release where you guys will be able to watch it. So you can follow me on social media by my name and KrisKrainock.com.
Cool. And I was introduced as a musician, but I also work for the City of Las Vegas programming events. I'm the chair of the programming committee for the Las Vegas Book Festival. I do encourage you all to make it out this year. It's in October. It's a ways away, but our headliners, we do have Terry McMillan as one of our headliners, as well as Malcolm Nance if you're into national security. And I mean, the dude fought in Ukraine recently, which is really impressive. So yeah, I hope you make it out.
Awesome. Well, there'll be links in the show notes for all of that. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. We are going to be doing another one next month, August 17th, back here at Maya Cinemas on Strays, the raunchy talking dog movie.
It's quite the drop.
Oh, yeah. We're
Even
going
more
from
important than this film.
Yeah, we're going from this to that. And my mom will be one of the guests on that one, so you definitely don't want to miss it. So.
She's got dogs.
I thought it was because you were a stray.
Hi, this is Wax Trax Records here on 2909 South Decatur. We buy all your old 45s, your old albums, any type of music memorabilia. Also, we sell music memorabilia, albums, CDs, and a lot. come on down to Wax Tracks, 2909 South Decatur, or give me a call at 702-362-4300. Thank you very much.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about Oppenheimer. It was a fun night out there at Maya Cinemas. Hopefully you'll make it out to the next one, which will be on August 17th. It's another Thursday. We are doing Strays, like I said. We got a great lineup for that one, too. I'll be announcing more about the show and our guest lineup and all that in the next week or so. But save the date. It will be back at Maya Cinemas on August 17th, and I can't wait. It is going to be such a fun one. Make sure you're subscribed to Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're enjoying the show, you could also rate and review us over on Apple Podcasts, Good Pod, Spotify. I appreciate the 5-star ratings and reviews. You know, the more that it looks like there's lots of ratings and reviews, the more the companies that let me do things will let me do more things, and then we'll keep making this show bigger and better for everybody. So drop those ratings and reviews. I do appreciate it. Also follow me on the social medias and join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces. And one other thing before we wrap this thing up, you heard during the conversation, I was giving out t-shirts, Oppenheimer t-shirts. Well, I still have 3 left. And I want to test you to see if you're actually still listening to this podcast after the main conversation and hearing my song at the end and all that stuff that I always do at the end. So if you're hearing this and you want a free Oppenheimer t-shirt, just message me. That's it. That's all you got to do. The first 3 people who do it are going to get a free t-shirt. So message me either, on Twitter, Facebook, email me, bydavidrosen@gmail.com. However you get in touch with me, I want to see who's actually still listening at the end of these episodes. So get a free t-shirt, get in touch. So we will have an episode on Barbie coming up after this, of course, with the whole Barbenheimer thing. And then we've got a whole bunch more Piecing It Together on the way. So make sure you are subscribed. Let's close this out with a piece of music like I always do. And Oppenheimer being such a big, huge movie for this year, why not close us out with a preview of a new song? This will be something that will be released next year. I'm not quite ready to announce what my plans are music-wise, but this will be part of my next year's plans. So this song is like, I'd say about like 90% done or something, 95% done maybe. Maybe back it down to 88%. I don't know. We'll see once I get back on my computer and start tinkering with it more. But yeah, this will be out next year. Hope you enjoy it. We'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
an All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.